Redshift here, doing my part to shift perceptions out of the pink and into the red. Do no harm, like, the doctor's code. This is a stupid, stupid, stupid code because inaction can be just as destructive and murderous as action. Such as if you have the power to stop someone from killing millions of people and you don't use your power to stop it, well, then aren't you responsible for those millions of deaths? You see? Do no harm is a retarded mantra because force is all everything comes down to. The law of the jungle, So people with morality, people who are not psychopaths, people who are not power hungry, but who just understand the importance of power, they don't want to hog power. They just want to have power so that they can keep themselves free. These kind of people are good, and they're not about the law of the jungle. They understand it and they deal with it. They work within that truth in a sense, but they don't use it as an excuse to be super power hungry, amoral, nihilistic, greedy assholes. Predators. They don't do that. But the law of the jungle is the law of life. The strongest survive, the fittest thrive. That's the way it is, And so to have this whole do no harm code is fucking retarded because by not doing harm, you are doing harm. Like, look at Kevorkian. He was helping people kill themselves so that he wouldn't be harming them by not helping them, These people were suffering. They wanted to die. And Kevorkian, I can't remember what his first name was. Is it Jack? Jack Kevorkian? Whatever. Dr. Kevorkian, he helped them kill themselves. He set up some machine or whatever it was so that they could just press a button with their one finger that they could move and then it would inject a poison into their veins. And he set the whole thing up, I don't remember exactly the setup or whatever, or maybe I never learned, but he didn't kill them. He set the machine, I'm pretty sure he set the machine up, maybe he put the needle in their arm or whatever with the poison, and then he set up this machine that would dispense the poison. It'd push down the plunger, but the person had to push the button themselves, and then the person did. So Kevorkian wasn't murdering people, he was assisting them in killing themselves, and they're the ones who made the choice and actually did it to themselves, but he had to set it up for them, right? And they were suffering and they wanted to die, so he helped them. And what if he had followed that do no harm code the way that most doctors think it means, right? Then he would have just let those people continue suffering, right? Do no harm, if it's going to be wise, should extend to understand that, sometimes violence, sometimes killing, sometimes helping people with suicide, etc., is the only way to do no harm. Because by not helping, you're actually harming people. You see, by doing nothing, you're harming people. So, you got to look at the whole do no harm code in a broader, wiser way, not the shallow, narrow, retarded way the doctors view it or the law views it, So, nothing is anything. Everything contains within it its own contradictions. So, by not helping people, you are harming them. Or by not harming people, by not harming people, you are harming them, such as a person who wants to die and you refuse to help them commit suicide. You see? So, everything contains its own contradictions. So to have some kind of code, any kind of code, really is retarded. Unless you're going to, view it in a higher way and you realize the code has limitations or becomes its opposite and you just embrace that truth because you realize that's part of the code, But if you just blindly follow some kind of strict code and you don't take account for the fact that it contains its own contradictions and you got to view it in a higher way, if you blindly view the code the way most people do, then, that's stupid, that's retarded. Now, of course, you have to restrain your bad side as much as possible, but it's foolish to not understand the inherent contradictions of your own code, right? Because if you hold on to a code without understanding this principle, then you're blind. You're self-limiting yourself and you're blind, and you're often being hypocritical as well. Such as people who believe in nonviolence, not realizing that by being nonviolent, they are being violent. You see? Because they're letting violent people get away with violence, right? Now, you can make an argument that a certain violent action is not necessarily going to accomplish what you want, and so therefore it's just violence, it's not for the greater good. So, okay, you can debate on those grounds, but that's different. That's a different argument. Just like you can say, oh, there's better ways of defeating evil than violence, or at least in certain circumstances or whatnot. Maybe the majority of the time there's better ways than violence, but, it's crazy. Oh, wait, I think I said that. I started that as a quote, but I never ended it. Yeah, sorry about that. Right, yeah. So you can say, there's better ways of defeating evil than violence, or at least in certain circumstances or whatnot. You can say that. But that's a different argument, right? Like, maybe the majority of the time there are better ways to fight evil than violence, right? But it's crazy to act like doing no harm is some kind of viable code to live by, right? It's not even a viable code to live your profession by, much less your whole life by, right? I mean, are you wearing leather shoes? Are you wearing a leather belt? You know what I mean? Are you wearing fur? Do you use animal products in any way? Are you wearing makeup that was tested on animals? Isn't that doing harm? It's like, okay, if you're going to be so religiously subscribed, so fanatically devoted to this principle of do no harm, then why don't you take it all the way? Why don't you become a hardcore vegan who doesn't wear makeup and doesn't ever wear leather, etc.? It's ridiculous that these people are so ridiculously attached to the idea of nonviolence, but they implicitly support violence at the same time. These people's code is like what the Joker said. Remember in The Dark Knight, he said, quote, their code is a bad joke, dropped at the first sign of trouble. Remember? That's exactly how it is, right? But you can't adopt the elites' view of it's them or you gotta be ruthless, fuck everybody else, win no matter what. That you can't adopt their view either. That's just totally immoral and stupid and psychotic and self-destructive. And if not self-destructive, even though it is, it's definitely societally destructive. It's totally internecine, right? You can't adopt that code either, right? Because if you adopt this Darwinian law of the jungle, there is no morality kind of view of life, that there's no utility in helping others, just because the truth of the truth is that the law of the jungle underlies everything, right? But that doesn't mean that you need to be only out for yourself. And it also does not mean that there's no value in joining together with other people, because there is value in joining together with other people. There's huge value in it. The elites want us to adopt their stupid way of viewing things because it divides us, and it therefore hands the victory to the elites. Because by dividing us, they make our superior numbers count for nothing. They want us fighting each other instead of uniting to fight against them. But the elites are united. They have overcome the weakness of evil's lack of unity. They've overcome that by forming a cult that blackmails its members to keep them in line. Call it Skull and Bones or the Illuminati or Scroll and Key or Quill and Dagger. Call it whatever you want. Whatever. Maybe a bunch of little cults. Maybe they're all part of a bigger cult. Whatever. The point is, they definitely use blackmail to keep each other in line. Right? So our only hope is in being united. Evil no longer falls apart anymore. It's kind of interesting in that evil has adopted the strength of goodness, that is, unity, and goodness is now needing to adopt the strengths of evil, such as deceit, ruthlessness, and violence, and stuff like that. Although you could say that violence has always been used by the side of good in order to keep evil under control, but basically this whole do no harm thing is pretty retarded. Violence is necessary. It's always the root level of resistance, which will be resorted to when other methods fail. So, you cannot do no harm. There's no such thing, and it's even retarded. It's retarded to even try, right? So, what we should be doing is trying to make the world 100% free and better in other ways by being compassionate, honest, generous, etc. This has been Redshift, peace trucks for promiscuous men, arrogant men, callous men, amoral men, because they are one of the root problems in society.